Hello everyone, this is Jacob Stein, and today we are talking about advanced planning with trusts. What does advanced planning with trusts mean? Well, it means that we will be talking about concepts other than the basics, other than AD trusts for estate planning and the like. So before we get into our discussion and talk about some of these more advanced issues with trusts, focusing on the planning aspects primarily, a couple of sort of fundamental points that we need to address and make sure everyone is on the same page. So the first one is the following. What is a trust? Like, what is a trust? Is it a person? Is it a legal entity? Some sort of a vegetable? Well, turns out that a trust is a contract. It is a legal agreement, which often surprises some people who are not that familiar with trust law. But a trust really is just an agreement between two parties, between the person setting up the trust, the settlor, and the trustee of the trust. This agreement maybe is a little bit different than other types of legal agreements, than other types of contracts. So in a trust agreement, you are creating a fiduciary relationship and fiduciary obligations. And certain other things are happening that we'll discuss in a second. But in many different ways, a contract is a contract, whether it's a trust agreement or, let's say, a joint venture agreement. And because a trust is a contract, it means a couple of things. One is the following, and I think these are kind of really important concepts. Because a trust is a contract, a trust cannot own assets. A trust cannot own assets. And some of you may be sitting there right now thinking to yourself, what is this guy talking about? We all have clients who transfer assets to their living trust. I have a living trust myself. It owns my home. How is it that he's saying that a trust cannot own assets? Well, it cannot. A trust is a contract. A contract cannot own assets. When we say that we are transferring assets to a trust, or when we say that a trust owns assets, it is really a shorthand reference to describe what is actually happening, or who actually owns the assets. Because a trust is a contract, it cannot own assets, and who then owns the assets? Well, the assets are owned by the trustee of the trust. The trustee of the trust holds the legal title to the assets of the trust. But at the same time, the assets are not really the trustees, right? It's not like it's the same as his personal property that he owns in his own name as an individual, right? He holds title to these assets in his capacity as the trustee of the trust, and he is not allowed just to do whatever he wants to with these assets, right? He holds legal title to these assets, and he agrees to be bound by the terms of the trust with respect to what he does with these assets, how he invests these assets, who he distributes the assets to, right? So the trustee holds legal title to the assets of the trust, and the equitable interest in the assets, the beneficial ownership in the assets, belongs to the beneficiaries of the trust, right? This is who the assets will eventually go to. This is who the assets are intended to benefit, hence beneficiaries. So whenever we transfer an asset to a trust, first of all, we don't really do that, right? It's just a shorthand reference of what we are actually doing. And what we're doing is the following. We're transferring the legal title of the asset to the legal title of the asset to the trustee, and the equitable ownership of the asset to the beneficiaries of the trust. So automatically, by operation of law, the ownership of an asset is split into two bundles of rights on a funding of a trust, right? One bundle of rights goes to the trustee, one bundle of rights goes to the beneficiary. And that's really kind of this split of ownership of an asset that you get with the trust is, to a very large extent, what makes a trust so unique and allows us to do a lot of the planning, some very creative planning, that we get to do with trusts. And we'll discuss it in a little bit, how that plays into planning. So that's the first important concept that I need you to get. The other important concept that stems from the fact that a trust is a contract is the following. What limitations does the law impose on our ability to draft a contract, like to determine what will be the terms of a contract? Well, there may be certain limitations as far as, this is what you need to have a valid contract, right? And similarly with the trust, there are certain requirements that must be satisfied to have a valid trust agreement, right? So there must be an intent to create a trust relationship, there must be purpose to the trust, there must be ascertainable beneficiaries, and the trust must be funded with some assets. But once we have these initial requirements, how we structure a trust is really entirely up to us. It really is. It is a private contract, right? It's a contract between two private parties, between the settlor and the trustee, and they can agree on the terms of the trust. And the law does not tell them how to do it. Obviously, the purpose of the trust is to do something that's illegal. Maybe that's not an enforceable trust, or not an enforceable purpose. A trust should not violate public policy. The general rules apply to all contracts, but once we get past that, the minutiae of the trust, all of those little provisions within the trust, how we draft them, that is entirely up to us. And what you will find is that very often when we draft trusts, we include certain provisions, either boilerplate or very substantive provisions, simply because lawyers have always included those provisions when they draft the trust. Right? And if you've been doing this at least for some period of time, you may just kind of not even think about that, right? You just do it automatically. It's inertia. And sometimes I think it's very beneficial to sort of stop and think and try to figure out, why do we have this provision? We've always had this provision. Can we restructure it? Should we take it out? Substitute it with something else? So I think that's really cool. That we can do that with the trust. And also because the trust is a contract, and because all these different terms and conditions that go into drafting is really, to a very large extent, up to us to figure out what they will be. Almost every single time when you will have a question about a trust, whether it's during today's lecture or at any other point in your career, whenever you have a question about a trust, almost always, the answer will always be exactly the same, the exact two words. Always the same two words to answer any question about a trust. This is going to be a short presentation, right? What are those two words? Well, those two words, those kind of quintessential lawyerly words, which are, it depends. What are the tax consequences of setting up this trust? Well, it depends. Does the trustee have the power to do such and such? It depends. When do the beneficiaries get the assets out of the trust? It depends. Right? Almost every question with respect to trust can be answered with, it depends. And what does it depend on? I'm not being coy. The answer really is, it depends. And what does it depend on? It depends on how we drafted the trust. It depends on the terms of the trust that we get to draft, that we get to put into the trust. So how much control and how much flexibility do we have when we are structuring a trust? I think that, well, I wouldn't want to say that it's infinite amount of flexibility and control, but close to it. I mean, if we set aside the constraints that maybe clients impose on us, whenever you're structuring a trust, it is a contractual arrangement, a contractual relationship. So think of it like drafting a joint venture agreement. What sort of terms can a joint venture agreement include? Well, whatever the parties happen to agree to, right? Whatever will work for them, whatever they want to have in that agreement. And that is very, very largely true about a trust. So trust is a lot more flexible, a lot more user-friendly, I think, than many people give it credit for. And we'll discuss a couple of notable examples of that today. So with this in mind, kind of this foundation in mind, let's talk about different types of trust. And I think sort of the most fundamental distinction when we start getting into specific types of trust would be between the trust that is revocable and the trust that is irrevocable. Right? It's kind of a big starting point whenever we're talking about a trust. Is this trust revocable or irrevocable? The answer to that question will then answer a lot of other questions for us about this trust, what can we do with the trust, maybe the tax consequences, and so forth. So when we say that a trust is revocable or irrevocable, what exactly does that mean? Like specifically, what does that mean? And I lecture on these subjects a lot. And I ask people this question a lot. And here are the answers that I get, like a few hundred times a year. Well, if a trust is revocable, it means we can amend it. If a trust is revocable, it means we can change our minds. If a trust is revocable, it means we can terminate it. If a trust is revocable, it means we can get our assets back. If a trust is revocable, it means there are no tax consequences. And, the opposite then is true for an irrevocable trust. Well, it turns out that these answers are not entirely accurate. If I say that a trust is irrevocable, does that mean that the trust cannot be terminated? If I say that the trust is irrevocable, does that mean that the trust cannot be amended? If I say that the trust is irrevocable, does that mean that there are transfer tax consequences when we fund this trust? Turns out that the answer to all of these questions is no. When we say that the trust is irrevocable, it has a very, very particular meaning in the law. And the meaning is the following. Revocable versus irrevocable describes the power retained by the settlor of the trust to get his assets back out of the trust. Okay, so we are looking at the power retained by the settlor of the trust. I'll describe in a second who the settlor is. The power retained by the settlor of the trust to get the assets back. It does not describe any other power. So, can we have an irrevocable trust that can be amended? The answer is yes, we can. Can we have an irrevocable trust that can be terminated? Yes, we can. Can we have an irrevocable trust that does not result in any transfer tax consequences? Yes, we can. Because when we say that a trust is irrevocable, it describes a very, very specific power retained by the settlor of the trust. And it's the power to get the assets back. Right? So when we say revocable or irrevocable, what we're talking about is not terminating the trust itself. What we are talking about is revoking the transfer of the assets to the trust. That is what revocable versus irrevocable describes. If a trust is revocable, it means I have retained the power to get my assets back, to revoke the transfer. If it's irrevocable, I've given up that power. Now, why is it that people so often, if not all the time, associate an irrevocable trust with the lack of ability to amend it, with the lack of ability to terminate it, and so forth, right? When many of us think of irrevocable trust, we're thinking of a structure that is sort of cast in stone. We don't have the right to change our minds, right? We didn't get a do-over, which is why irrevocable trust is so often scary to people, right? Because they cannot change their minds. Well, the reason we associate irrevocable trusts with the lack of the ability to do anything is because traditionally, historically, that's how irrevocable trusts have been drafted. So if you look at most every irrevocable trust out there, there's going to be like a little paragraph, usually somewhere in the beginning of the trust, which will say something like, this trust is irrevocable, and it cannot be terminated, and it cannot be amended. Note that these are separate clauses. This trust is irrevocable, and it cannot be terminated, and it cannot be amended. right? Separately stated clauses. Now, usually for the past, 300 years, however long we've had irrevocable trust, 400, English common law, maybe 400 years, these three clauses have gone together. Revocable, cannot be terminated, cannot be amended. Right? Recently, practitioners have started realizing that there is really no requirement to have these clauses together. If we want to have an irrevocable trust, we want the trust to be deemed irrevocable, let's say under state law because we want creditor protection, or for tax purposes because we want to move the assets out of the estate, all we need then is to have a trust that's irrevocable. Well, maybe the trust can be terminated. Maybe someone can possess the power to terminate the trust. Maybe someone can possess the power to make changes to the trust and amend it. Right? So what we're seeing kind of in the more modern trust practice in the United States is to start segregating and separating these different powers from each other, and not necessarily by inertia combining them together and saying none of these powers shall exist. Sometimes you may want to have a trust where none of these powers exist. Sometimes you may want to have a trust where it's irrevocable, but we have somehow the ability to amend it and terminate it. So an important distinction, I think, to keep in mind, and really to understand how this works, revocable versus irrevocable. So this is a power that's either retained by the settlor, he has the power to revoke it, or given up by the settlor, no power to revoke it. Who is the settlor of the trust? That's an important concept to understand as well. The settlor of the trust is not necessarily the person who is described in the trust as the settlor. A settlor, I think in every state, is defined as someone who transfers assets to the trustee to hold under the terms of the trust agreement. Right? So someone who transfers assets to the trustee and with the understanding that the trustee will now hold those assets under the terms of the trust agreement, will be deemed the settlor of the trust. So if I set up a Jacob Stein living trust and then transfer my home to the trust, I am the settlor of that trust. But if one of you also transfers assets to that trust, to the trustee of that trust, and those assets are now held under the terms of my trust agreement, you also will be deemed a settlor of my trust. Right? It's an important concept to get that has, because figuring out who is the settlor of the trust can certainly lead to various tax consequences and various asset protection consequences. Okay. Let's start getting into kind of the more advanced planning concepts. Let's talk about what sort of creative planning we can do with an irrevocable trust. And why am I jumping straight into irrevocable trust? Why am I skipping over irrevocable trust, over our garden variety living trust? Because when we're talking about advanced planning, we're necessarily not talking about a trust that is irrevocable. If a trust is irrevocable, like your living trust, you really are not doing any sophisticated estate tax planning with that trust. Other than accomplishing some sort of an A-B type of a split on that, there is really fairly limited tax usefulness to a living trust. If we're talking about irrevocable trust, we are necessarily not talking about asset protection planning, because there is no asset protection planning with a trust that is revocable. We're not talking about special needs planning. And so whenever we're talking about kind of the more sophisticated uses of a trust, almost always we are talking about a trust that is irrevocable. And really the only time when we would be using a living trust for something that goes beyond the basic estate planning is when we have a client who is concerned with their privacy, with their anonymity. Very often these are foreign clients. So we represent, for example, a lot of foreigners, do a lot of pre-immigration tax planning for them, and just cross-border tax planning and business structuring for foreigners. So many foreigners, either for political reasons or cultural reasons, do not want the world to know, including the U.S. government, do not want the world to know what assets they own. And in some of these cases, we will set up for them a very simple living trust. This trust will have a generic name, third-party trustee. The client's name does not show up in any of the assets that are transferred into the trust. So there's a lot of anonymity to be gained from a structure like that. But other than this anonymity use, revocable trusts are not that important in the more sophisticated trust practice. So we are talking about irrevocable trust. And as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, when we say the word irrevocable trust, it concerns people. Because, despite my assurances that if a trust is irrevocable, we can have the power to terminate it and we can have the power to amend it, given all the years that we have had a contrary view of irrevocable trust, people are still often concerned. I've always heard that irrevocable trusts are difficult to work with, there are tax consequences. If tomorrow I change my mind, I want to get my assets out, I cannot do that. I'm uncomfortable using an irrevocable trust. And I think for many of us who do have a trust practice, selling a client on an irrevocable trust is always a lot more difficult than selling a client on a living trust. So let's talk about how we can change that. And there is now sort of a new concept in our trust practices that allows us to do that. And the concept is known as the trust protector. So what is the trust protector? I'm sure many of you have heard of this term, even if it's in passing. Some of you may be using trust protectors in your trust and know it well. But this is, I think, a concept that, to a large extent, revolutionized the trust practice in the United States and around the world, really, and have made this concept has made irrevocable trusts a lot more user-friendly. So let's spend a few minutes talking about trust protectors. I'm a big fan of trust protectors. So a trust protector is a term that defines a new position that we create within the trust agreement. So this is a position and an office in addition to the trustee of the trust, right? So now we have four parties to a trust agreement. We have the settlor, we have the trustee, we have the beneficiaries, and now we also have the trust protector, right? So this is the fourth party to the traditional trust agreement. What does the name trust protector mean? Where does it come from? Well, so the concept was developed in the British Commonwealth. I don't know which country specifically came up with it first, doesn't really matter. One of those nice Caribbean islands, possibly, the South Pacific Islands. And the concept was developed as a means for us to keep an eye on the trustee of the trust. And that's why this position is called the trust protector. This is an office that protects the trust from the trustee, which sounds possibly a little bit silly. It should sound silly. As the title trustee implies, this is someone that we trust. But as you can imagine, when we are hiring some professional fiduciary, some trust company on some little Caribbean island that we've never done business with before, and we are transferring a large part of our wealth to this trustee, trust can only go so far. So some 20, 30 years ago, this concept of a protector was developed where, hey, let's appoint someone else within the trust agreement, right, it's authorized by the trust agreement, and we give this person, this office, certain powers, basically to look over the trustee's shoulder and sort of watch what the trustee does, and maybe give this office certain veto powers over the trustee, maybe give this office certain positive powers, meaning forcing the trustee to do something, and essentially protecting the interests of the beneficiaries from the trustee should the trustee not carry out his or her duties in a way we want them to. So hence the title trust protector. There's no mandatory requirement that we use that title, so in some trusts you will see people call them trust advisors. In some trusts I've seen them called special trustees, although I don't think that's a good term. So trust protector Again, it's an office we create within the trust agreement, right? We empower this office with certain powers. And usually the trust protector acts in a non-fiduciary capacity. And because the trust protector acts in a non-fiduciary capacity, it allows the trust protector to do more things without fear of liability exposure. And the trust protector also, because they're acting in a non-fiduciary capacity, the powers that they have will have fewer tax consequences to us. So, is the concept of the trust protector something you can find in your state law? If you look at your state's trust statutes, is there such thing as a trust protector? Well, the answer is it depends. It depends on which state you live in. So there are now a few states that have enacted legislation that codifies the concept of the trust protector. And the primary purpose of this legislation in the few states where it does exist, and I don't recall the latest count, last time I checked was, I think, maybe about 5 states, is to provide that the protector acts in a non-fiduciary capacity and therefore has no liability exposure either to third parties or to the beneficiaries, more importantly, to the beneficiaries of the trust. So it's easier then, it makes it easier for us to find someone who's willing to act as a trust protector, right? Because a lot of their liability exposure has been removed, either under state law or because this is how we drafted the trust. And this is why I spent some time in the beginning of this presentation talking about the fact that a trust is a contract, because it is a contract, and we get to draft this contract any way we want to. We can create the office of the trust protector and empower it with whatever powers we want to empower it with, so long as we're not doing something that is illegal or violates public policy. So what sort of powers do we commonly give to the trust protector? Well, I don't know if there's a set sort of standard powers, but there are powers that we as a matter of practice commonly give to the protector. And before I describe the powers, let me remind you again, because this is important to get, let me remind you again why we have created this office, why we use it, why we want it. We want it because we are transferring our assets during our life to an irrevocable trust. So if you were to close your eyes and visualize yourself transferring your assets, pretty much everything that you have, into an irrevocable trust, what is it that you will want with respect to this trust? What you will want, what I want, what every client wants, with respect to a trust like this that holds a lot of our valuable assets, is to retain control over the assets. I want to retain the ability to transfer the assets back into my name. I want to retain the ability to do stuff with these assets while they're titled in the trust. That's really what is the goal of the trust protector. The goal of the trust protector is to allow us to transfer the ownership of the assets into an irrevocable trust, but through this office of the protector, somehow retain control over the assets. So how can we do that? Well, we do that by giving the trust protector certain specific powers with respect to the trust, with respect to the assets of the trust, with respect to the other parties in the trust. So, for example, one of the most important powers, and this is, I think, the power originally granted to the trust protector when this concept was developed, is the power to remove the trustee of the trust and replace the trustee of the trust. And remember, originally trust protectors were developed as a means of protecting the trust from the trustee. And what better way of doing that than by having the power to fire the trustee and appoint someone else, hopefully more agreeable, right, as the trustee of the trust. So that's power number one. Another power that is commonly given to the trust protector may be power to give the distributions. Right, so let's say you have one of your beneficiaries facing a collection action, and if the trustee makes a distribution to that beneficiary, the money is going to wind up going to the beneficiary's creditor. We may want to avoid that. So let's give the trust protector the power to veto the distribution. So this way, when the beneficiary is facing a collection action, nothing is being distributed to that beneficiary. Although, frankly, even if the trust does not have a protector, I think almost all trusts should be drafted with that protection in mind, prohibiting the trustee from making a distribution when the beneficiary is facing a collection action. But that's a little bit of an aside. What other powers can we give to the trust protector? Well, possibly the power to change the beneficiaries of the trust. Although there are some court decisions that now say that if the trust protector has the power to change the beneficiaries of the trust, he is acting in a fiduciary capacity, regardless of what the trust says. So we have to be careful with the power to change the beneficial enjoyment. How about the power to make changes to the trust, right? And the language of the trust. Change the governing law of the trust. Maybe switch between grantor and non-grantor status. And anything and everything else you can think of about the power to terminate the trust, right? Or the power to return the assets back to their settlor. Essentially the power to revoke the trust. Remember, the trust is defined as revocable or irrevocable based on the power retained by the settlor of the trust, not by the power held by someone else. So the settlor, so if I'll give you a very personal example. I've transferred ownership of my house to an irrevocable trust, and I've retained no powers with respect to this trust. I have the power to get my house back, which means the trust is deemed irrevocable. But I really want to have that power. I want that power to exist. Maybe if not in my hands, maybe in the hands of someone else, maybe in the hands of someone who is, hopefully, a friendly party as to me. So I've given the trust protector of my trust the power to distribute the assets back to me, to add me as a new beneficiary of the trust, to terminate the trust. Right? And the trustee is, let's hope, friendly to me. Then hopefully, I can whisper in their ear, and although they're not obligated to listen to my whispers, right, hopefully they will and will carry out my wishes. So first of all, it is important to make sure that the trust protector is acting independently, meaning that the trust protector will not be deemed to be an agent of the settlor. And if the protector is deemed to be an agent of the settlor, it means that all of the powers of the trust protector are attributed to the settlor. Now the settlor can revoke the trust and terminate the trust and change the beneficiaries and so on and so forth. And now we have your garden variety revocable living trust that we are playing with, not an irrevocable trust. So we terminate the principal-agent relationship in the trust agreement by having a provision to that effect that basically says that while the trust protector, while the settlor may ask the protector to do certain things, the protector has no obligation to do those things, right? And then they can exercise their own discretion when taking an action, right? So that severs the possibility of a principal-agent relationship. It is such an important office, I think, to have in most any irrevocable trust. If I'm transferring some valuable assets that I have, my clients are transferring valuable assets that I have to an irrevocable trust, you better believe that they want to retain control over their assets. They want to retain the ability to transfer the assets back to their name, to do things with the assets while the assets are titled in the name of the trust, and they may want to retain the possibility of not having tax consequences of working with this trust. Sometimes we want tax consequences, sometimes we don't, depending on the purpose of setting up a trust. Luckily, we can do that. We can do that when we're drafting a trust because it is a contract and because we can draft it pretty much any way we want to. So a lot of times when people for the first time hear of the concept of the trust protector, their first thoughts are, well, this is too good to be true. There has to be a catch. There has to be some reason why this would not work or should not work. It's just too good to be true. Well, it does seem that way, right? It does seem that way. But I disagree with that analysis. Here's why. First of all, as you all know, inertia is a very, very powerful force. We've been drafting irrevocable trusts for the past few hundred years in exactly the same way. Why? Well, because the prior generation of lawyers drafted trusts this way. This is how they taught us to draft trusts. In the prior generation of lawyers, they didn't get disbarred for drafting trusts this way. They didn't die, right? It worked for them. So we'll continue doing it the same way. Inertia is a powerful force. It is difficult to overcome, but possible. So just because we've been doing it for a long period of time doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. Right? And another reason why this works, and it's not too good to be true, is the following. Often when people hear of the powers that we grant to the protector, they're thinking, well, how can we create all these powers? How come we could not have given these powers to the trustee, or have never given these powers to the trustee? Where are these powers coming from? Which are all, I think, good questions. So you may not want to give these powers to the trustee. Well, first of all, because sometimes it may be nonsensical, like giving the trustee the power to remove and replace the trustee, right, serves very little purpose. And second, the trustee does act in a fiduciary capacity. And you may not want some of these powers exercised in the fiduciary capacity, because the trustee will simply will refuse to take an action because of the fear of his liability, his own liability exposure to the beneficiaries of the trust. So you want these powers exercisable non-fiduciary. And also understand that these powers are not just appearing out of thin air. These powers have always existed. So think of, I don't know, the cup of coffee that's in front of you right now. And if there's no cup of coffee in front of you right now, go get one. So about that time of the morning when you should have a cup of coffee. You have this cup of coffee. It's yours, right? You have a fee simple interest in that cup of coffee. What can you do with a cup of coffee? Well, think about it. You can do pretty much anything you want to, right? You can pour the coffee out. You can wash that cup, right? Put it back in the cupboard. What else can you do? Can you smash it on the floor and destroy it? You can do that. Can you transfer the ownership of that cup of coffee to another person? You can do that. Can you sell that cup of coffee? You can do that. Can you transfer the ownership of the cup of coffee to a trust, to the trustee of a trust, to hold under the terms of the trust agreement? Yes, you can. Do you have the ability to decide who will be the trustee of the trust? Yes, you do. Do you have the ability to decide who will be the beneficiary of the trust? Yes, you do. Right, so today, when you own an asset, and you have a fee simple ownership interest in an asset, you have the power to do pretty much anything you want to with that asset. But once you've transferred this asset to a trust, right, and now the trustee holds legal title, what can the trustee do with that asset? Can he do everything you were able to do with that asset? Or are his powers a lot more restricted? The answer, of course, is that the trustee's powers are a lot more restricted. Right? The trustee doesn't have the power to pick a beneficiary. The trustee doesn't have the power to pick a trustee. Right? The trustee doesn't have the power to pick the terms for the trust and so forth. You had all of those powers. But as soon as legal title was transferred to the trustee of the trust, a lot of these powers that you used to have over the asset simply went poof. They vanished, they disappeared, they no longer exist. So when we create the Office of the Trust Protector, all that we are doing is we are preserving more of those powers that you used to have, that the settlor used to have, over the asset transferred into the trust. We're not creating something new out of thin air. We're simply preserving more of the existing powers. That's why this is not too good to be true. This is why it's possible. Right? We can draft the trust any way we want to. It is a contract. So if we want to create this Office of the Trust Protector, and then if we want to give this office certain powers with respect to the assets of the trust, the operation of the trust, we can do so. We can do so. So I love the concept of the Trust Protector. I do not recall the last time I drafted an irrevocable trust that did not utilize the concept of a Trust Protector. And I use Trust Protectors both in trusts that I do for estate tax planning and in trusts that I use for asset protection planning. So now that we've sort of made the irrevocable trust hopefully a lot more approachable by using Trust Protectors, let's talk about kind of the more advanced uses of trust both in estate tax planning and asset protection planning. And let's start with tax planning first. So, how much time do we have? Now, maybe one or two trusts. Let's talk about one or two types of kind of the more sophisticated trusts we use in estate tax planning. And I'm going to preface by giving you a little bit of history, a little bit of real history, not made up. So, in something like 1935, Pierre Dupont engages in the first well-known estate tax planning transaction, and he does the following. He takes some of the shares that he owns in the DuPont Corporation, and he sells those shares to his kids. He sells the shares in exchange for a promissory note that is payable for his life. And the numbers approximately worked out as follows. The shares at the time of the sale in 1935 were worth about $15 million. Pierre Dupont sells the shares to his kids in exchange for a promissory note that is payable for his life. His life expectancy at the time of the transaction is also approximately 15 years. So the promissory note provides for an annual payment of $1 million plus interest. So the shares go to the kids. Pierre Dupont now owns the promissory note, and he is collecting $1 million a year on this note, and he does not survive for his life expectancy. He actually survives for something like 30 years following this sale. So $15 million of stock goes out of his estate, replaced by $30 million plus interest. So the question is this a good or bad estate tax planning transaction? And the answer is, of course, we do not know if it's good or bad, because we do not know what was the value of the stock that he sold to the kids, right? The block of stock that he sold to the kids at the time of his death 30 years later. Well, it turns out that the stock 30 years later was worth, drum roll, $500 million. This is a good or bad estate tax planning transaction. Right? It's an incredible estate tax planning transaction. He moved $500 million of wealth out of his estate and replaced it by $30 million. So it's a fantastic estate tax play. So this is an illustration of what an estate freeze looks like, right? Because Pierre Dupont took an asset that will continue to appreciate in value, the stock in the DuPont Corporation, and replaced it with an asset that does not depreciate in value, which is this promissory note. I'm sorry, does not appreciate in value, which is the promissory note. Right? So it's an estate freeze. He froze the value of the estate at today's dollar amount, the $15 million. In retrospect, right, with hindsight, we know that this was a fantastic transaction, right? If we could go to our clients and say, listen, in 30 years, your stock will increase in value from $15 million to $500 million. Let's freeze the value of that stock today. Right? What client is going to say no to that? Problem is that in real life, right, outside of these historical examples or hypotheticals, we never know in advance exactly how things will turn out, right? Pierre Dupont, when he entered into this transaction, did not have 100% certainty, or probably anything close to that the stock will end up where it did in 30 years. He was certainly hopeful that the stock will appreciate in value prior to his death. He did not know when his death will take place and what the value of the stock will be at that point in time. He was hopeful, right? But even though he did not know what will happen as a result of this transaction, one thing he did know with certainty when he entered into this transaction, and the thing that he knew with certainty was what? That today, when he sold the stock to his kids, he will pay income taxes on the sale. So that is a really difficult sell for us when we are discussing this with our clients, right? For us to go to the client and say, listen, if this asset that you have will appreciate in value, then an estate freeze is something that we should be considering today. We don't know really if you will appreciate in value. We do know, though, for you to take a chance and remove that appreciation out of your estate, you need to pay taxes today. How many clients are going to raise their hand and say, yeah, sign me up? I would love 100% certainty of paying taxes today for some small chance of avoiding the estate tax tomorrow, especially given the fact that clients never themselves pay the estate tax. Right? This is the tax paid by the kids. That doesn't impact the client personally. They're just taking care of their kids. Very small percentage of clients will say yes to a proposition like that. So for tax purposes, there are two ways. There are two ways. One taxpayer can transfer the ownership of an asset to another taxpayer. You guys know what they are? Two ways. One is a sale, right? This is what Pierre Dupont did, and the other is a gift. So the only two ways one taxpayer can transfer the ownership of an asset to another taxpayer from a tax standpoint. It can be a sale or a gift, and each has a tax consequence. And if we're talking about a valuable appreciated asset, each one will have a significant tax consequence. So in the estate freeze, while it sounds wonderful in theory, right, in reality, difficult to sell a client on an estate freeze transaction. Well, what comes to the rescue is the so-called intentionally defective grantor trust, an IDGT, an intentionally defective grantor trust. This is an irrevocable trust. This is an irrevocable trust over which Pierre Dupont, the settlor of the trust, does not retain any sort of a power that would cause the assets of the trust to be pulled back into his estate. Right? So as soon as the stock hits that trust, it is out of Pierre Dupont's estate. And it now appreciates in value inside the trust, and when Pierre Dupont dies, the stock is not subject to the estate tax. Okay? That's the kind of an irrevocable trust we are setting up. But at the same time, this irrevocable trust, for income tax purposes, is drafted in such a way so that it's a grantor trust. It's classified as a grantor trust. So for income tax purposes, trust can be classified either as grantor trust or non-grantor trust. Right? The only two classifications of a trust for income tax purposes. Nothing else exists. It can be grantor or non-grantor. If the trust is grantor, it is ignored for income tax purposes. And the settlor of the trust is deemed to be the owner of the trust assets. Right? So if you think of your living trust as the most common example of a trust that is treated as a grantor trust for income tax purposes, it is ignored. That's for income tax purposes. It has no bearing on how the trust is treated for transfer tax purposes, where we look at a whole different set of criteria. So we can, and by we I mean the trust planning community, not just me personally, we can draft an irrevocable trust in such a way so that for transfer tax purposes, it is what's called the completed transfer, meaning there are transfer tax consequences on transferring an asset to the trust. And at the same time, for income tax purposes, the trust is completely ignored. Right? It's a kind of magic. An intentionally defective grantor trust. I have no idea what the name means. I don't think anyone has any idea what the name means. It's just a marketing term that someone came up with and then sort of stuck. Okay? It is an irrevocable trust that for income tax purposes is treated as a grantor trust. That's it. That's what we're talking about. So now what Pierre Dupont will do is instead of, let's say, selling the stock to the kids or gifting the stock to an irrevocable trust, which would result in income tax consequences, Pierre Dupont is going to sell the stock to this irrevocable trust. And if Pierre Dupont sells the stock to this irrevocable trust, what is going to happen? Well, if he sells for fair market value, there are no gift tax consequences. Right? And because he's selling to an irrevocable trust, it's a sale that's ignored for income tax purposes. It's a non-event for income tax purposes, and nothing happens. Right? It's treated exactly the same as when you fund your living trust. The IRS does not care, for income tax purposes, how you fund your living trust. You can gift assets to your living trust, which is what's commonly done, or you can sell assets to your living trust. Neither will have any income tax consequences because you are still deemed to be the owner of those assets. Nothing happens. The basis of the assets do not change. All we are changing is who owns the assets under state law and for transfer tax purposes. Nothing changes for income tax. And the reason why this is possible is because the income tax rules that apply to trust, the grantor trust rules, and the rules that determine whether the assets of a trust are included, pulled back into the estate, they overlap to some extent, but to some extent they do not overlap. And what we are doing is we are exploiting those differences. We're exploiting those differences. So now Pierre DuPont can take this $15 million of stock, sell it to this intentionally defective grantor trust, usually in exchange for a promissory note. The sale is ignored for income tax purposes, but for estate tax purposes, the stock is now owned by this trust. Another example where we will use a trust protector. We will use trust protectors in an intentionally defective grantor trust because, yes, Pierre DuPont wants the estate tax benefit of an agent, but at the same time today, he is still running that corporation. He is the big boss. He is the one in charge. He doesn't want to surrender ownership, not ownership, but control of the assets transferred into the trust. Now, what if tomorrow he has a falling out with the kids? What if tomorrow he needs to make changes to the trust? What if tomorrow the law changes, right? Having the trust protector gives us the ability to really, for a lot of ways, retain control and access to the assets that we transfer to the trust. And that's awesome. It's an awesome ability to do that. Other examples of trusts where we use a trust protector, trust that we use for tax purposes, maybe GRAS, Grantor Retained Annuity Trust. You can use a trust protector there. DINGs, Ding Trust and Ning Trust, these are Delaware trusts and Nevada trusts that are set up for state income tax planning. So, for example, I practice and live in California. California has a 13% income tax, and a lot of California residents are looking for ways to avoid paying the California state income tax, and it may be possible in some cases. Using these Ding and Ning trusts, certainly we'll use a trust protector with them. Where we cannot use a trust protector, an irrevocable trust where we cannot use a trust protector would be a QPERT, Qualified Personal Residence Trust. The service provides to us a model QPERT that we must use without deviating from it significantly to remain within the safe harbor of Code Section 2702. And I think that using the trust protector would be a significant deviation from the model QPERT and would then blow us out of the safe harbor. So we don't use trust protectors with QPERTs, but we do use them with pretty much every other irrevocable trust. Irrevocable life insurance trust, right? Also used frequently for estate tax planning. Certainly can use a trust protector. Let's talk a little bit in the time we have remaining. We have about 15 minutes remaining. Let's talk about using trust for asset protection. And we'll talk about kind of some more sophisticated uses here if we time permitting. So what is asset protection? Just in 2 words. Here in asset protection practice, we are looking for ways of protecting our client's assets from creditor claims. Right? Our client has a home that he owns, he has a business that he owns, bank and brokerage accounts, intellectual property. How can he own these assets? So that if tomorrow there is some sort of legal catastrophe, there's a large lawsuit, he defaults on a personal guarantee, he gets involved in a car accident, he gets pursued by a federal agency for whatever reason. How can we make it difficult for a creditor to reach the assets that the client has? Well, it turns out that with asset protection, pretty much with everything that we do in asset protection, our objective is usually fairly straightforward. We want to remove our client from the legal title of his assets, from the ownership of the assets. but we want to do it in such a way so that he retains control, he retains the ability to revest the title in his name, and we want to move assets in and out of various structures without any tax consequences, usually. What does this remind you of? Well, how about an irrevocable trust? Right? Move ownership of the assets out of his name, check, right? You're going to transfer ownership to the trustee of the trust, but do it in such a way so that the client retains the control over the assets and the ability to move the assets back into his name. Well, how about an irrevocable trust utilizing the concept of a trust protector? Is that a good asset protection structure? And it turns out that, yeah, that is exactly what we do. In asset protection planning, one of the most commonly used asset protection planning structures would be an irrevocable trust utilizing the concept of the trust protector. So, first of all, some notes on using irrevocable trust specifically for asset protection. One, the trust should have a spendthrift provision. I'm sort of throwing it out there. It's boilerplate by now, pretty much every trust, but I have a couple times in my lab have come across trusts that do not contain a spendthrift clause, and I think that's malpractice. So make sure your trust has a spendthrift clause. For asset protection, it is mandatory. The trust must be irrevocable. What does that mean, if you remember? The settlor of the trust, our client, the debtor, cannot have the power to pull his assets back out of the trust. Check, we can do that. If we are worried about protecting the beneficiaries of the trust, then the beneficiaries should not have the power to pull the assets out of the trust. So that's the spendthrift clause. And also what we want to do is we want to give the trustee the discretion when it comes to making the distribution. How much discretion will we give to the trustee? Well, we want to give the trustee, purely from an asset protection standpoint, we want to give to the trustee as much discretion as possible. Discretion over what? Discretion over making distributions, like when will we make a distribution? How much will we distribute it? Who will the distribution be made to? And give the power maybe to exclude certain beneficiaries. The more discretion the trustee has, the better the protection. If the trust is fully discretionary, meaning the trustee has complete discretion when it comes to making distributions, including the power to cut out beneficiaries, that is about as good as it gets in an asset protection trust. Because if the trustee has complete discretion and can cut out any beneficiary, then what happens is that no beneficiary has a property right in the trust. All that they will have is a mere expectancy, not a property right. And because beneficiaries have no property rights, it now means that the creditor of a beneficiary will have nothing in this trust that they can pursue, right? Because you can only pursue as a creditor, you can only pursue property interest, not an expectancy. Sometimes our clients may want to make certain that the beneficiaries get periodic distributions, right? Meaning now there is a mandatory distribution clause built into the trust. Let's say some sort of a clause that says trustee on every January 1st distribute $100,000 to the beneficiaries. Well, what happens if we have a clause like that? And, around Thanksgiving, the beneficiary has a little bit too much to drink, gets into an accident, gets sued. January 1st comes around, and then I'm kind of compressing the timeline. But January 1st comes around, and now there's an existing creditor who is pursuing this beneficiary. The trustee knows that if they make the distribution that they're required to make, the money is going to go to the beneficiary's creditor. But they're required to make the distribution. What does the trustee do? Do they follow the terms of the trust and make that distribution? Or do they not follow the terms of the trust to protect the beneficiary? What is the trustee to do? The answer is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the trustee does. If they make the distribution, obviously the creditor can get that money. If the trustee does not make the distribution, it doesn't really help us, because the third-party creditor can enforce the beneficiary's right to receive the distribution. And the third-party creditor can then force the trustee to make that distribution. So if we are concerned about asset protection, we either do not want to have mandatory distributions at all, right, and the trust is just fully discretionary, or if you really want to have mandatory distributions, put in some sort of an overriding clause that will say that, generally make these mandatory distributions, but if these events take place, let's say like a collection action against the beneficiary, then the trustee is prohibited from making a distribution. Maybe the beneficiary vests in whatever we were going to distribute to them, but the trustee retains it in trust for them until such time as the creditor goes away. Right? And then better to have the money sitting in the trust than going to a creditor. Because maybe from the trust we can get the money someday, certainly from a creditor we'll never get the money at any point in time. So, we do use irrevocable trusts a lot for asset protection. They're really the heart and soul of any asset protection practice. We can draft an irrevocable trust so it has no income tax consequences, right? We discussed that before, like an IDGIT, an intentionally de facto grantor trust. Easy to make a trust a grantor trust. We can also take an irrevocable trust and have it be drafted in such a way so that there are no transfer tax consequences. Right? That's surprising to some people that we can draft an irrevocable trust in such a way so there are no transfer tax consequences, meaning we can fund the trust and there is no gift tax. We can make distributions from the trust and there is no gift tax. How do we do that? Well, there are certain provisions that we can put into the trust, certain ways we can grab the trust to make the funding of the trust an incomplete transfer for gift tax purposes. So this is what I call a defective trust, meaning it's defective for income tax purposes and it is defective for transfer tax purposes. So I own my own residence through a trust like that. No tax consequences to the trust. And, I'll tell you that when I talk to my clients about these types of trusts, I tell them, think of these trusts as a living trust. It's a living trust in pretty much every way, except it happens to be irrevocable. Nominally it's an irrevocable living trust, but for you practically it's going to work like a living trust. And then it's easier for them to kind of get it that way and understand it that way. So use irrevocable trust a lot. What sort of assets can an irrevocable trust hold? Well, technically it can hold any asset that you want it to hold, right? There's no legal prohibition as to what types of an asset can be transferred into a trust. But from a practical standpoint, there may be some assets that are better suited for a trust and some that are not well suited for a trust. Here's why. In most jurisdictions, when we are setting up an asset protection trust, we do not want the trust to be self-settled, meaning that it must be for the benefit of someone other than the settlor, right? There must be a third-party beneficiary of the trust. So, for example, my trust is for the benefit of my kids, not for my own benefit. Because if I set up a trust for my own benefit, it would be called a self-settled trust. Under California law, creditors would be allowed to reach the assets of the trust regardless of how it's drafted, if I set up a trust for myself. There are now about 15 states that allow self-settled trust as an asset protection trust, meaning it's an effective tool against creditors in that state. I have two concerns with trusts like that. First of all, I do not know whether these trusts will work in a different state, meaning if my client sets up a Delaware self-settled trust, but my client lives in California, has assets in California, gets sued in California, well, the California court applied California law, Delaware law. We would love them to apply Delaware law, right, because then we are protected. But if they apply California law, we have a self-settled trust, there is zero protection. And the odds are they'll apply California law. A judge will not be a third-party creditor, as a matter of fact, is not bound by the choice of law that we designate within the trust. The parties to the trust, like the beneficiaries, are bound by the choice of law. A third-party creditor is not. So the odds are under the choice of law analysis, they'd apply California law, whatever state you guys happen to be in. That's one point. The other point is that even if you happen to be in a state that enables self-settled trusts for asset protection, you do not always want to have them. Let's say that we are engaging in asset protection planning for a client, but there's a possibility that in at some point in time, the client will have to file for bankruptcy, right? Let's say today we fund this irrevocable trust, 2 years go by, 4 years, 6, 8 years go by, and then the client files for bankruptcy. Well, guess what? If the client transferred assets to a self-settled trust, for bankruptcy purposes, there is a 10-year look back. 10-year look back on funding a self-settled trust. That's a lifetime. 10-year look back. So I do not like self-settled trusts. I do not use self-settled trusts. And certainly if a trust is self-settled, it makes it more difficult for us to argue that it's not an asset protection device of some sort, right? Whereas if you're setting up a trust for the benefit of the kids, it looks a lot more like you're playing vanilla estate planning trust or estate tax planning trust. Because of this, right? Because the settlor cannot himself be the beneficiary of his own trust, and it's always the kids or whoever else he has in his life. If we place an income-producing asset, a cash-flowing asset into the trust, and the settlor needs access to that cash to live off of, he will have no access to that cash because he's not a beneficiary. Someone else is. And if we make a distribution to the settlor, which practically speaking we almost always can, but if we make a distribution to the settlor, the protection of the trust is done. Because as soon as you make a distribution, you have de facto demonstrated to the world that the settlor is a beneficiary, right? That he can get a distribution. And if he's a beneficiary, the trust is self-settled and the protection is done. So when we are setting up these irrevocable trusts for asset protection, we are using them for non-income producing assets, like a personal residence. Or we are using them for income producing assets when we know that the client does not need access to that cash flow, right? Maybe he has other sources of income. And this one cash flowing asset, we can stick it into the irrevocable trust. Another couple of sort of important points with the irrevocable trust, asset protection or other uses of them aside. First of all, when we transfer ownership of an asset into an irrevocable trust, the client no longer owns that asset, which from an asset protection standpoint is exactly what we want. But let's say that this client operates businesses or he invests in real estate, and he always borrows money from banks. And when he borrows money from banks, he needs to show the bank his financial statement. Well, if we transfer the ownership of his assets into an irrevocable trust, what appears on his financial statement? And the answer is nothing appears on his financial statement. Right? And it may be now more difficult for him to get a loan. And some lenders will, show them the trust and the assets of the trust. They may say, okay, that's fine. Maybe the trust guarantees the loan as well. Well, we're okay lending, and some lenders will say no. So here you have to weigh, what's the importance to the client of protecting assets, how immediate is that need versus the ability to borrow later on. The fact that the assets come off the balance sheet, obviously from an asset protection standpoint, that's a fantastic result. We've had so many cases in the past where, we would show the client's financial statement to a creditor saying, look, he has no assets. And the creditor would then, settle the case. All the assets have been transferred to an irrevocable trust. Some creditors will probe that deeper and inquire as to when, have any transfers of assets taking place and so forth. Some will not. There are assets, and they move on to their next case. And also keep in mind that, for example, if you are transferring a personal residence to a trust, like for example, I transferred mine, if the residence is encumbered by a mortgage, does the lender have the ability to trigger the due on sale clause in the mortgage? Usually the answer is no, that they do not. There is a federal law known as the Garn-St. Germain Act, which prohibits lenders from triggering the due on sale clause on certain transfers of the collateral. So, for example, a transfer between spouses is not subject to the due on sale clause. And also the funding of a trust. Not every type of a trust, there are some restrictions, so you need to look into it. But usually you're okay when transferring a personal residence into a trust, you're not triggering the mortgage. Let's spend a couple of minutes on foreign trusts, offshore trusts, and call it a day at that. So what is an offshore trust? What is a foreign trust? Well, it is a trust just like the trust we've been discussing so far. So usually these are irrevocable trusts, often built with asset protection in mind. But now we are setting them up not in California, not in Delaware, not in New York. We are setting them up in a foreign country. What is the advantage of setting up a trust in a foreign country? Well, I would propose that there are two advantages. One is that this country may have trust laws that give us certain substantive benefits. For example, I set up a lot of foreign trusts in a country called St. Vincent, as in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the West Indies. Why do I use St. Vincent? Other than the fact that most creditors cannot find it on the map, unless they have access to Google Maps. So I use St. Vincent because St. Vincent does not recognize a foreign judgment when it comes down to a trust. Does not recognize a foreign judgment when it comes down to a trust. What does that mean? It means that if our client is being sued in California, or New York, wherever in the United States, right, and the creditor obtains a judgment against our client within the U.S., the judgment is simply not enforceable in St. Vincent. It's not enforceable. And then the judgment is not enforceable in St. Vincent. What can the creditor do to reach the assets of the trust? Well, maybe they can go to St. Vincent and file a fraudulent transfer lawsuit, and they can do that. There's legislation in St. Vincent with respect to bringing a fraudulent transfer lawsuit, which really makes it impossible for someone to prove a fraudulent transfer. I don't believe it has ever been done. And there are many other types of benefits that are built into the trust laws of St. Vincent. So a lot of kind of substantive protection, very data-friendly jurisdiction. So that's benefit number one. The other benefit, which I think is equally as important, if not more so, is the practical advantage of having a foreign trust. What is the practical advantage? The practical advantage is that very few creditors and creditors' attorneys would be willing to pursue assets overseas. That is simply true, right? Because pursuing assets overseas is expensive, and it's perceived as being expensive. It is difficult, and it's perceived as being difficult. Really hard to get access to any sort of information, and there's a perception that it will be difficult, right? So if we're facing, let's say, a plaintiff's attorney who's coming after our client, and let's imagine that this plaintiff's attorney is working on a contingency basis, does he want to, out of his own pocket, hire local counsel in St. Vincent to pursue that trust, the assets of the trust? Probably not. There better be a lot of money at stake. St. Vincent is not the only jurisdiction that is good for offshore trusts or for asset protection trusts. We've also used the Cook Islands for many years. We've used Nevis, but for the most part, I tend to default to St. Vincent for certain specific reasons. If you guys do want access to a good trust company there, I'm happy to recommend the ones I use in these jurisdictions. Just shoot me an email, and I will do so. So, when we're talking about advanced planning with trusts, we're always talking about irrevocable trusts, right? Because there's very little planning you can do with the trust that's irrevocable. And if we are talking about an irrevocable trust, because we're usually setting up these trusts while the client is still alive, big objective for the client is how do I retain control over my assets that I transfer to the trust. So that brings up the usefulness of the trust protector, which we have covered today. Again, I think it's absolutely wonderful planning concept. I use it a lot. I use it for my own trust. We didn't address who can be the trust protector of the trust. Legally, there is no sort of requirement for who can and cannot be the trust protector. There's certainly no requirement of a license like you would have with a trustee. So very often for our clients, these would be family members that they're using as trust protectors. They're close friends, what have you, can be anyone. But we are seeing now more and more professional fiduciaries and trust companies getting into the business of being trust protectors, because you are seeing a lot more trust protectors being grafted into trust. It truly is a concept that has exploded in popularity over the past 4 or 5 years. For tax planning, we are primarily using trust as a means of freezing the estate, right? We transfer assets that we have today to trust, and we're hopefully transferring these assets before they go through an appreciation event, so prior to an IPO, prior to completing a real estate development, prior to selling the intellectual property that we are developing, right? Before the asset has a lot of value. And then asset protection, we're looking for a trust that is irrevocable, that is not self-settled, and we are looking to give the trustee as much discretion over the trust as possible. So obviously there's a lot we have not covered in this presentation. Time does not allow us to cover every single subject. If you guys do have questions, my contact information is in the materials that you have. I'll give you my email address in a second right now if you'd like to write it down. I always answer questions from people who have taken my courses. So just shoot me an email saying, Jacob, I've taken your class, I have a question, whether it's a general legal question or client-specific. I will be happy to answer it for you. My email address is Jacob, Jacob, as in boy, at lataxlawyers.com. lataxlawyers, plural, .com. Again, I practice primarily kind of the more sophisticated estate tax planning, asset protection planning, and international tax and business transactions. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day. Thank you.